music. Good evening and welcome to Talkwad Studios and Barking Out Loud with me, Lori Spalding. We are coming to you today from Tampa, of course, and in studio we have a wonderful guest tonight. Her name is Tracy Karathanassis, and yes, that took me months to figure out. Every time I'd go into her community, I would just crucify it. Yeah, the lady with the dogs. Yes, that lady. So they'd let me in. They knew who I was talking about. But anyway, Tracy's here today. She is a volunteer foster mom, and she's going to talk to you about what it's like to foster and why she does it, and maybe why you don't want to do it, or maybe why you do. We also have a guest who's going to be hanging out here with us all night. His name is Aries, and you'll be meeting him shortly. But right now, I'd like to turn it over to Miss Tracy and see if we can get started, and welcome aboard.
Hello.
So Tracy has been fostering for
2 years.
2 years? That's all 2 years? Exactly. Wow. There have been so many dogs in those 2 years, I can't even keep track. But you do.
I do
I've
keep
heard.
track.
You do keep track. You have your handy-dandy little notebook. And
I do.
Everybody's documented.
Yes.
Did you draw pictures, or is it
No,
just...
I've taken little photos.
Ah.
I take little pictures of the dogs, of when they came in and their name, and where they came from, where I picked them up from. And so we sometimes just like to look back to see who we've had. So we love to go through them. I'm at my foster dog number 103.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. You have a head count.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 103 foster dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy is one of those core folks that I had mentioned last week, where she takes one or two or three or four right after the other. So Tracy is a huge asset to any rescue organization, so you can't have her. Florida Retriever Rescue has her, and we're keeping her. So why did you get into fostering? I think that's kind of the biggest thing, is people email us on a daily basis, you know, I'm thinking about getting another dog and I want to see what it's like. I just want to help out. I lost my dog, you know, and I want to kind of give back. So why did you start?
Well, I didn't even know about fostering. I was actually, my daughter, we were looking at Craigslist for hedgehogs, and I happened to make a wrong turn and started looking at the dogs that were on Craigslist, and I thought, oh, I really want another dog, but I already had 2 dogs, and I didn't really need a third dog, and I thought it might be selfish. There's no really need for another one. So I just thought, well, every day I'll check, and if there's a dog that I can't resist, then I'll get that dog. So every day I was looking, and one day there was a little posting that said, desperately needed foster homes, 20 lab puppies coming in this weekend, please call. And I thought, oh, well, so I called, and the lady was so nice, and oh, we need you to come tomorrow. I'm like, oh, tomorrow, okay. So I got my kids in the car, and we went to some address, and we went in this house, and there were all these dogs and puppies, and we were going to take one, and then I was like, well, I guess we could take 2 while we're here. And so we brought home our first 2 little puppies. Oh, am I looking at the right spot? Oh, straight ahead. Okay.
Yep.
So the first 2 we had, and at the time, I'll admit, I didn't really know what I was doing when I did adopt them out, because there's, you kind of learn as you go, and everything is, it can be hectic, or luckily my first 2 dogs weren't sick. They were 2 cute, healthy little dogs. Their adoption went well, and I never heard from the people again, which is a good sign.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
That actually, right, that's true. It can be a good sign. So then I got on the list of where Lori sends out emails of dogs coming in, and the main thing that I love about the fostering is the variety, and that it happens really fast, and it's not a long-term commitment. You can have like 2 puppies, and I'll have them for a week or 2, and then I might have an older dog for 2 weeks, and so it's just nice to be able to kind of decide also. Lori will send out the list of these are the dogs coming in, and you can like look at the list, and like puppies are wonderful and great, but they are a lot of work. And so sometimes I'll think, well, okay, are we ready for puppies right now? Or maybe we'd want an older dog, older meaning maybe 1 or 2. But then those dogs might have more issues. They might be really shy or scared. I personally like those dogs, watching them blossom, come out of their shell, working with them. But that's the main thing that I love about it, is the variety. And then what happens is the rescue group posts them on Pet Finder or Adopt a Pet, so I don't have to do any of the work. I just keep the dog. I take care of the dog like it's my own dog. I start working with them on, manners, house training, anything they need to work on, and get a really good idea for the dog as far as what their temperament's like, so I'll be able to tell potential adopters. That's a really big thing. Some people want a happy, outgoing dog. Some people want the shy dog. Some people feel like they're doing a good job if they'll actually take a dog they know is sick. So there's really a dog for everybody. It's just getting to know the dog to make sure that they're a right match with the adopter.
And big thing we always say, and I know not all rescues do, but it's very important. We tell all our fosters, you tell what?
You tell the good and the bad.
Yes, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because if you don't tell the adopter that, then they're gonna take it home and think it's the most wonderful dog in the world and be like, whoa, I thought it was housebroken, or whoa, I thought I didn't have to crate it, and now it's eating my house.
Right, that's actually the biggest disservice to the dog, is to make it seem like the dog's wonderful if it really isn't. So I'll let them know, this dog digs, this dog barks a lot, this dog isn't house trained, if there's things that are, problems with the dog, I definitely will let them know, just to give them a chance. They'll know up front. Some people can handle those things, and some people can't. So we're
laughing because last week I notoriously had my phone in the studio, which never stopped going. So I swore I wouldn't have one here today, but Tracy did. It wasn't me.
The only reason I brought my phone was to show that one of the best parts of fostering is, like today, when you get a text from somebody that adopted a dog a month ago. Now, I always, whenever I get an email or a text or a call, my first is I always grimace thinking, oh, no, I hope you're not giving me any bad news or telling me it's not working out. But there's definitely the texts and the calls and the emails I get of everything's great, everything's wonderful, and they want to show me a picture, and so that is very rewarding. So I got one of those today, just a little update, and that's a nice thing, is to get that, because sometimes we do get the calls months later that the dog is too much of a handful, a problem, and we do take the dog back, but it's always, it is disappointing when that happens. To get them back.
Definitely. And in not just the foster homes, but the people that helped rescue the dogs. So in a lot of cases, as I said, our dogs could come from Florida, Alabama, Georgia. That's pretty much as far as our arm goes here when we're taking dogs in. But everybody from the person who identified it at the shelter and shared it on Facebook or asked me to take it, to the person who got it on transport, or the 5 people that took it to get on transport all the way here. Sometimes there's legs done, sometimes there's pilots. There's a wonderful organization called Pilots and Paws, and they're volunteer pilots, and they fly the dogs down from Alabama or Georgia or even just northern Florida. It's a lot easier, especially on a puppy or a mom and pups, to take an hour or 2 flight than the 10 hours it takes to do all these legs to get down here, because people do like 1 hour here, 2 hours here, so it takes a lot of people to do that. So all of those people want to know that what they've done, their time that they've taken that day, the gas, the pilots, I think Jeff had said it cost him about $500 to do a flight, because he flies up from Key West, he comes into Tampa, he goes up to Alabama, comes back down here, goes back down, maybe makes a stop in Palm Beach to another rescue. All that money, all that time, their entire day involved and everything else. They've got to clean crates, and they've got to go through, just like we do as dogs come in and out and cleaning our cars. So there's a lot of people involved in the rescue. Some people think of shelters as, those kill shelters and those people at the shelters, how could they work there? They're so cold and everything else. And it can be the exact opposite. There are definitely those shelters and definitely those people, but we work with so many people who care so much about every single dog that comes into that shelter that they take it upon themselves, not by paid job, to take pictures, get them on Facebook, email them out to everybody, to just do anything they can to get the word out there that that dog needs to be saved by 4 o'clock on Tuesday or whatever it may be, because if it's not, it gets put to sleep. So everybody involved in it, the vets that we have a lot of vets that work in the areas with us. We'll obviously start talking about them as well, because they've been really great and an essential part in allowing us to take some of these dogs in and treat them, and some of the puppies that are sick. Some of the adults, a lot of them are heartworm positive. So all that stuff is we're in great debt to our not literally in great debt, but sometimes it can be, that's for sure. But in debt, I guess, emotionally, and thankful to our vets that take care of us. So, and then the foster homes, as Tracy said, I mean, it's just, we treat them like they're our own dogs. So they live with us, you know, we take care of them. I know people always ask me, how do you do this and not keep every single one of them?
True.
And that's a big part for people. People are actually afraid to foster because, oh, I'm going to get attached. And yeah, it happens, that's for sure. We call foster failures and say, oh, another one bites the dust. It happens a lot. But those are mostly people that are coming in the thought of, maybe I want another one. It does happen from time to time on someone who doesn't plan it at all. But there's so many wonderful families out there. So I always tell people that, yes, you're attached to that puppy because you're taking care of it, or that dog because you're living with it, or maybe it was sick when it came in and you got it through that. But realistically, you know, there's that family out there, there's that couple out there, there's that lonely person out there that's going to need that dog. And when you find that right family, couple, person, whoever it may be, it's really wonderful to see how excited they are and walking off with their dog. And then we always say, please keep in touch, please send us pictures, please do give us write-ups. We get them all the time on our Facebook page. If you go to Florida All Retriever Rescue on Facebook, we have pictures up all the time where adopters are posting and thankful and how amazing it's been in addition to their family and their life. So that's what we're really looking for, because it makes it all worth it. So talking about make it all worth it, what's the downside to fostering? Housebreaking? Sometimes?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's housebreaking. My floors are all tile or wood, so that honestly for me doesn't stress me out with the housebreaking, because I have little area rugs, and like when I have puppies, I just take up the rugs until the puppies are gone. That's the other nice thing, is everything is temporary. So if there are puppies, I rearrange things with the house, and then when the last puppy's adopted, it's like, oh, okay, let me get the rugs back out again. And then I have the rugs back out until the next. So it's nice because there's a break. It doesn't keep going. You're not going to have the same you're going to have the experience of a puppy for a little bit, but then they go, you know, they go to a home.
Not that long-term,
right? It's not long-term
commitment of all the chewing and everything.
Gosh, what was? I thought there was going to be one thing that I could say with the downside.
When they're sick, maybe.
When they're sick.
Yeah, it's hard. You know, you take adults, and the adult dogs usually are fairly healthy. Maybe there's worms here and there, or we know there's a lot of heartworms, but those are easily treated these days. The puppies are always a risk. Everybody wants puppies, so a rescue has to take in puppies. We really do. I mean, it's our lifeblood, because it allows us to bring in a bunch of puppies, get a bunch of adoption fees, and those adoption fees pay for all that medical that's needed for the adults that need heartworm treatment, or in the sense where you have all the puppies, all it takes is that one puppy that has parvo, and boom, you've got like a $2,000 vet bill all of a sudden, and that's a whole lot of adoption fees to pay a $2,000 vet bill. So I would say the sickness is, you know, when taking in puppies is really hard.
Well, and it's stressful. When I've had some really sick dogs, and so it was very stressful getting them back. You know, there were times when I'd go in and look, you know, wonder if the dog was going to be alive, and so that's hard. And then that's hard too, because I have kids, and so, you know, that's something I don't want them to have to, you know, go through all the time. But but again, we have really good support with the vet, and then like with Lori and other volunteers, I can call, you know, is this dog okay? And everybody jumps together. So at least I don't you don't ever feel alone. You have that help. Someone bringing you medicine, or you get the dog to the vet. And that's the thing that I love about our rescue group, is that cost is never an issue if the dog needs the help.
Correct.
And so if it's like 10 or 11 at night and I really think the dog needs to get to the vet, I don't have to feel guilty. I just can make that decision that to get the dog in there, and not to feel like, oh, we shouldn't have spent money on this or not.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Lori's always available to ask, and
our other board members.
And other board members.
Amy and Kristen have become the medical experts in the group. They've kind of had to. They've had so many litters of puppies and a lot of sickness. So
yeah, and I've been on the call, talking to them at 11:30 at night, and sometimes just talking to them.
So there's a little vomiting, but she's not quite lethargic. But she ate about 2 hours ago.
And then I've learned enough to. There's times when then they don't need to go to the vet because we know enough. And that's just by experience. But the first few, times with the sick dogs is that's hard. Especially too, I feel it's a responsibility. It's not even like it was just my own dog. It's like, oh gosh, this isn't even my dog, and everything that the dog went through just to get to me. Mm-hmm. And like Lori said, I mean, it took a lot of people just to help get the dog, and then I wouldn't want anything to happen with it in my hands. And that is hard to make sure. If a dog ever gets out, I know some foster dogs have gotten out. And I did have one too that was gone like overnight, and that was very stressful. Oh. So that's the other thing, is I feel the responsibility of not wanting anything to happen in my hands.
Yep, that's exactly. So, I mean, we've covered kind of good and bad of fostering. I mean, there's definitely rewarding pieces to it, that's for sure. Like those families that contact us and send us pictures, and there's definitely stressful times of it. I always say new people come on board and they're like, well, what time am I going to get the dog? How am I going to get it? What do I need to do? And it's always just bear with me. Everything in rescue happens last minute. We'll have just transports time down to the minute, and it just never quite works that way. There's an accident on the highway, or they had to stop and clean out the cages, or whatever it may be. So rescue can be stressful. Rescue can be difficult sometimes, but it is incredibly rewarding. And again, if you're thinking about it, if you're not sure if you want to add another member to your furry family, it's a great way to try it out. We say that a lot of fosters, they say, well, what if I want to adopt my foster dog? And that's definitely. Again, you have your first choice of adopting. Thankfully, Tracy doesn't so much.
Well, that's the thing too, because people always ask me how, that you don't, keep any.
Yep.
I did think to myself, maybe when I get to number 100, I was going to keep number 100, but that one just went right on by. So
it's not the personality, and that's the hard part is, I always say, the ones that need you the most are the ones that you keep. And, I've been doing this 15 years, as I had mentioned, and realistically, I have kept 2 of my foster dogs. Well, actually, no. I guess it's 3, because my Truman, my original golden, he came in as a foster, but I had started because I wanted a buddy for my Roxy. So, I mean, that was exactly why I got into it. I did keep my recent Millie, who was a feral dog in Alabama. She was from Alba, Alabama, and she's just in the woods, and she was wild, and she was petrified of people, and that's one that I bonded with because it took months and months and months to get her to trust, to get her to come in the house, to get her to come past the couch, to come up to you willingly. It took so much that, I brought her to adoption events and really thought I'd be adopting her out, and just finally came to terms with the fact that she really just belonged with us. So it happens. It definitely happens to some of us, but again, highly advisable if you can. Check out your local rescues. Petfinder.com is a great place to find rescues. You can search by area code. Any state across the country, they're all over the place. So we've, if anybody has noticed, we've got this white rug here who has thankfully kind of stopped panting in nervousness, but if at all possible, maybe we can get him to wake up a little bit. I guess we've bored him to death, maybe. He's like, oh, I've heard all this stuff before. I don't want to listen to this stuff again. Oh my God. But I would love to introduce you to, this is Aries, if you can see him. We kind of made him lay down because he was blocking the entire show. Basically, when he stands up, you could not see me or Tracy. It was kind of the tops of our heads. So Aries here, if we can get him, he's a little shy. He can look at the camera.
Come say hi.
Say, look at that camera, big fat face. He basically looks like a polar bear. There's a lot of people out there, especially down here in Florida, that do not know what a Great Pyrenees Mountain Dog is. So Aries, buddy, come on, look at the camera, right there, big fat face. This is a Great Pyrenees Mountain Dog. They're amazing creatures. They're incredibly gentle. They live up to their name, Gentle Giant, in many ways. They are bred to protect the stock. So you'll find, lots of hair. You'll find he kind of looks like a big sheep. And the reason for that is they were bred to protect the stock. So they'll be laying amongst the sheep, and God forbid something like a wolf or another animal coming in looking for those sheep and hoping to pick one off. Well, surprise, here comes a big bear of a dog ready for you. He doesn't exactly baa. Do you make a big woof? They are definitely used for guarding. They take their job rather seriously. They're not dangerous animals in any way, shape, or form. They just like to alert you. They'll be alert at night, and they'll let you know if someone's near the house.
Yes.
Some of them who truly are used to being outside dogs and like to be outside all the time, unfortunately will alert you when maybe a butterfly goes by. But that's just is in their nature. So it is part of the breed. I don't recommend it for people with an apartment, that's for sure. Sometimes we talk about the different breeds, and we'll talk more about those in these shows. When it comes to the different breeds, I say a bigger breed is okay for an apartment, but realistically, when you have one who takes a serious job to guarding, it's not something that you'd want to have. He likes to be outside. He likes to have a big yard to kind of hang out. I'm not saying he's an outside dog, but they like to spend time out there. So if you have kids, they're incredibly gentle and patient with children. Usually smaller animals, any other animals, because that comes natural to them. Now, with any breed, you can't completely generalize and say, oh, well, every single Great Pyrenees is good with every single other animal and every single kid. You just don't know, because they all have different backgrounds. We don't know Aries' background. He was found in Alabama, so we don't really know what he's been through in his life. But that is the point of foster care, is if you went to a shelter and you saw Aries, you're not really going to know what you're getting. You're just going to see a dog, and you're like, well, I have children. Is he good with kids? Well, we don't really know. The breed generally is, but that's why we have foster care. So we know what they're good with and what they're not.
Right. And with him, a family came to meet him yesterday. And so I've only had him maybe 4 or 5 days, but I was able to tell them, he's, been good with my kids, that he was house trained, that he was quiet at night, he doesn't chew on things. So all those things I had enough time to notice those, because usually, even if there's the honeymoon phase, the first couple days, it kicks in by like day 3 if they were going to have some bad habits.
Yeah.
And so the other thing, though, is he was very shy, and I told them, because they had 2 boys, and I said, he's not going to come running up to you and give you kisses, and I let them know all that before they even came to the house, because some people want that. They want the happy dog, and I said he's going to take time, but they specifically said they didn't want a skittish dog, because a relative of theirs had. And I said, he's not skittish, he's not afraid and running away, he wants to be near you, but I said he just is not used to being in a home environment. And so my kind of unprofessional opinion, but my experience opinion is that it was just, he's one that's going to take time to blossom.
Yeah.
And so they
were
were
worth it.
Yes, and so they were good, and he came in, and interestingly enough, he did follow them all around when they came in, whereas some people he kind of walks away from. So he definitely liked the kids and wanted to be near them, and so they did decide they wanted to adopt him. And so what happens with our process is, so first, I would get the email, I contact them, we go back and forth between email or phone, and then the potential adopter comes to the house. They would come to my house to meet the dog. It does work better for them to come to the home environment. We do go to the adoption events, but the nice thing about the home environment is the dog is more itself. And sometimes people like to bring their own, if they have a dog. I always encourage them to bring their dog with them, because sometimes, just to see if they're going to get along. And then you can get a feel for how the family, or how the people interact with the dog, and that just helps me with, judging how if it's gonna be a good fit. I always encourage people to take their time. I let them spend time, maybe take a walk, whatever it is that works. So that actually is kind of one of the hardest things, is if I do get a kind of a weirdo potential adopter, is because people say, how do you tell? I haven't really had to actually tell someone, no, you can't adopt this dog. I have encouraged them, well, this doesn't really seem like the right fit. We get in dogs all the time. There's some dogs coming in I think you might like. So I kind of more encourage something else, unless I think they're not going to be, unless I think our group wouldn't want to adopt to them, which is and then I just kind of discourage them. Yeah, like, well, maybe it's not ready. So, but honestly, luckily that really hasn't happened. I've only had to discourage one or two people. It just wasn't the right fit, and they actually agreed. They kind of thought, well, yeah, maybe I'm not really ready, or this isn't the right dog. So,
and you're an experienced volunteer. I mean, I tell the new volunteers that if they at any point in time feel like it's not a good fit, or it's not someone they'd want to adopt to blame it on the board. Say, well, thank you for your time. I've got to contact the board, and, they'll make a decision and we'll be in touch. And then myself or Amy or Kristen, somebody will contact them and explain the situation. And again, suggest maybe that whether it wasn't the right fit, or just maybe they weren't ready for a dog. So people generally appreciate your advice. It's our responsibility to make sure that we place our dogs in homes or people are, ready for them. One is a big thing, ready for them, because some people think they are, but they're not. Then, we don't want the dog to be returned, because then the dog's confused. So anyway, so if you think a Great Pyrenees is a good breed for you, be prepared for all the hair. That's a huge issue with them. They shed all over the place. It's absolutely crazy, but there's a Great Pyrenees mountain dog club here, and a rescue, as well as Florida Retriever Rescue. We say and friends. You can't see the top of our banners, but up there it does have a picture of a Great Pyrenees, because we take a lot of them in. And then there's also a Big Fluffy Dog Rescue and a couple others that do as well. So definitely a breed I recommend if you're ready for it. But as any breed you're looking at, truly research it. I get a lot of people that say, oh, I want a Husky, I want an Aussie, Okay, so what do you know about them? Do you know that, this is their personality? So research, make sure it's the breed for you, talk to the rescue, ask any questions you can possibly ask. So that way your experience is a good one as well as ours. So anyway, I think that's about time we've had for tonight, and I appreciate you coming and bringing our big guy with us, and I definitely appreciate you tuning in. See you next week when we get to our normal format with our giveaways and our adoptable dogs and our training guide. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.